This is the place for the breakfast after the bris, yeah?
Don't worry. Good morning, Kahal Kadosh. Beruchim Abaim to everybody. Today, Erev Shabbat Kodesh, Perashat Bereshit, Makam Rast, the 25th day of Tishrei, October 1st, 2021. Today's special breakfast and class, graciously sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Ishak and Hannah Davidov, in honor of the Berit Milah of their dear son, Aharon Haim, that took place a few moments ago. That's why we're starting the shiur a bit later than usual, and to celebrate this great gift from Hashem and this joyous moment, the family is providing a magnificent breakfast. So please go ahead, enjoy the breakfast while I do the talking. That will be the best thing to do. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Shehakol Nihiyah B'Dvarim. Okay, Rabotai, being Shabbat Bereshit, we started to discuss yesterday some basic concepts of the Perashah. One of them, thank you so much, Abishu Minak Mehila. One of them is the concept of Kiddush, which is found in today's Perashah by Hulu Hashamayim Vehaaretz Bechol Tzevaam. This is what the Perashah writes. But the tradition is based on the Siddur of Tefillah, that when we do the Kiddush, how do we start the Kiddush? We say Yom HaShishi by Hulu Hashamayim. We take two words from the previous pasuk, and all together, and we're going to have the fascinating secret, so to speak, which is not a secret, it's visible, but you have to find it. That if you look at these four words, Yom HaShishi by Hulu HaShamayim, the Hida and the Ben Ish Chai and others bring down that a person must say these four words slowly, because you are formatting, as you are talking, Hashem's name, Yod Ke Vav Ke. So you have Yom HaShishi is Yod Ke, Vaychulu HaShamayim Vav Ke. These four letters makes up Hashem's name of Hesed and Rahamim. Additionally, interesting enough, that if we look at the creation of the world, we are going to see something very fascinating. That in every day of the creation, the Torah uses a peculiar language. In the first day, and this is what there is a big discrepancy in the Siddurim. Some Siddurim on Sunday they say Hayom Yom Rishon, but the Torah says Yom Echad. So that's why most people, based on the Siddur that they use, they say Yom Echad, following the pattern of the Torah. And that's why we say Yesh Echad Ben Sheni. Once you say Rishon, that means first. So if there is a first, most likely there is a second. And God forbid to insinuate that about Hashem. So therefore we follow the nusach that says Yom Echad. But interesting enough, if we look at the way that the Torah rather puts the days, is Ehad, Sheni, Shelishi, Revi'i, Hamishi, and then Shishi, the pasuk says Yom HaShishi. And the question is, why do we make that difference? Yom HaShishi. Let the Sandak please come in. Chavot, Beta, you're the Sandak. Aharon HaKohen is coming. It's not Pashut to carry the name of Aharon HaKohen. Abia Ben, feel free to sit also here. Ladies, we set up some tables, some chairs for you. Thank you so much. בבקשה. מחילה. Thank you. I need Moshe Rabbeinu. Is your name Moshe now? Moshe, anybody named Moshe? My name Moshe. Yeah, I have Aharon HaKohen, so I need Moshe Rabbeinu. Anyways, say a few berachot. Rabotai, it's good to say berachot of a Seudah, of a Berit Milah. It says in the Sefarim HaKedoshim that a person who partakes in a Seudah of a Berit Milah, it's like the person fasted 40 days. You're going to eat one more sambusak? The Shem Shamayim now. One more. And if you go to Epidyon Ben, 84. 84 ta'aniyot, Kelashon, Pedale, Pidyon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the question is, why the Torah, when it came to Friday, it says Yom HaShishi? And this is the way it's found in the Siddur. If you heard before the Yom HaShishi prayer, you hear the Yom HaShishi prayer, it's an issue with the day, what that represents. So what is Yom HaShishi? So even if you look, even if you look at the creation of the world, let's dissect the message on the word HaShishi. HaShishi is the sixth day. Yani the start of the week. Yes, the first day was important, because without the creation of the world, we will have never reached day number 6. But what happened on day number 6? The creation of Adam and Hava, and the culmination of the creation of the world. Now, let's open the word. HaShishi, there is a hidden code in the word HaShishi. Bevakasha, Rabotai, please be aware that this class is live online in YouTube and itorah.com. So if we can keep the conversations, por favor, thank you. I'll appreciate that. So the pasuk says, HaShishi. Let's separate the letters. He. The He. Effie. The He is for Hamisha Humshe Torah. The 5 books of the Torah. The He. Shishi is the 6th day of Sivan. The 6th day. And Shishi, 3 letters. So this code hidden in this word is 3, 6, 5. Or 5, 6, 3 if you want to be more precise. The 5 of the Homashim, the 6 of the date of Shavuot, and Shavuot is on the 3rd month of the whole year. And that's why you say Yom HaShishi. Without the 6th day of the creation, the whole creation would have been Beracha Levatala. Why? Short answer. The whole purpose of the creation of the world is to do what? To bring Kedusha into the world. To bring godliness into the world. As the Baal Shem Tov says, a Yehudi's mission is to take the physical and to blend it with spiritual. You just had a sambusak, right? Delicious, right? Smells good. But what did you do before you ate it? A beracha. So now it's not a regular sambusak. Now it's a sambusak from a Sauda Mitzvah. And it's a sambusak that you say a beracha before. And most likely you're going to have 2, probably. If you have a sambusak or a ma'amul or a ka'ak, you're going to say already ala mehiyah. Correct? So now you have beracha before and after. So now it's not stam food. It's the food that berachot were recited before and after. And that's why the pasuk says, by kadesh oto, Hashem sanctified the day of Shabbat. What does it mean? We're going to come home from the synagogue, and what do? We do Kiddush. Husband and wife get married under the chuppah. How do you call that ceremony? Kiddushin. Kiddushin. The action that the husband gives the ring to his wife, it's called Kiddushin. You're sanctifying the marriage, you're sanctifying your life, you're sanctifying the Shabbat. I'd like to welcome to the class today the Ben Ish Hai. Since the baby was named Aharon Haim, and the name of the Ben Ish Hai was Yosef Haim, so we're going to talk about the Ben Ish Hai for a moment. The Ben Ish Hai's standard procedure is to reveal to us a Kabbalistic connection between the Perashah and our daily life. That's the Ben Ish Hai's mission. Besides the halachot, we have a lengthy introduction I'll try to keep it short and sweet. What do we make Kiddush on Shabbat? Wine. If you don't have wine, you make Kiddush on bread. But before the Kiddush and before the bread, what do we have? Hadlakat Nerot. The ladies light the candles of Shabbat. The Gemara already tells us that the candles were established by our Hachamim for Shalom Bait, to bring peace and harmony between husband and wife, especially when this takana was enacted, was in the time that darkness, was roaming throughout the world. There was no generators, there was no 3-day candle, there was no electricity, LED, flashlights, there was nothing. So in order to have some light in the homes for Shabbat, and people will be able to enjoy the Shabbat meal to the best of their abilities, they established candles. Therefore, the halacha says, if a person only has money to buy or candles or wine for Kiddush, what do? Candles. Yes. Why? Because you can make Kiddush on bread. If you don't have wine, you can make Kiddush on bread. And if you don't have bread, you can make Kiddush without bread. But that's in an extreme case. These are halachic parameters. Not parallels, parameters. Why do you skip the wine from the Kiddush? Short answer. Because to the eyes of the Torah, the Shalom Bait reason is priority one. That's why there is a mitzvah in the Torah. I hope that no one ever needs to fulfill this mitzvah, is the concept of the sotah. God forbid. Sotah. Sotah means, Chas v'shalom, a lady who had inappropriate behavior while she was married, and then the husband will bring her to the Kohen, will take a piece of cloth, piece of parchment, will write some pesukim of the Torah, they will erase the ink into this water, and the lady needed to drink the water. Now, I'm not going to go to the whole procedure. We are in Perashah Bereshit, that's in Perashat Naso. We got 4 months, more or less, to come across that Perashah. But I give you even more. But I give you a summary. God says, I allow you to erase my name in order to bring closure and peace between husband and wife. That's the reason why, if you have one option to afford, wine or candles, you do candles. But, as I said before, the Ben Ish Chais always finds obviously on the source of holy books, the spiritual reasons why we do things. So today, time allowing, what time is it? Okay, I have to run in 15 minutes. But I'm going for a simcha to Avel. God forbid. That's how life is. Now, although usually should be the opposite. First you go to the Avel, then you go to the Simcha. That's the way it goes. But in this case, because the Simcha was very early, so therefore I'm doing the opposite. Anyways, visiting time is only after 10 o'clock today. Anyways, comes the Ben Ish Chai and it says, we are going to reveal why we light candles, why we drink the wine on Friday night, and why we make hamotzi on Shabbat, especially Friday night. Everyone does this. It doesn't matter your background. Sephardic, Ashkenazi, Syrian, Bukhari, Persian. It doesn't matter. We all do the same. Different pronunciation, different tunes, but at the end of the day, as the Gemara writes, Kol haderachim mobilim leYerushalayim. All the roadways lead to Jerusalem. As long as a person follows the beautiful tradition between the parameters of Torah, we are okay. Listen to this pasuk from Perashah Bereshit. Now, by the way, who lights the candles? The wife. Why? Who makes Kiddush? The husband. Who makes the Hamosi? The husband. But for the husbands here present and watching live, if you've never done this, you start doing it today, which is what? Set up the candles for your wife in honor of Shabbat. That's part of the halachot of candle lighting. Candle lighting is not only to light the candle and that's it. The husband prepares the candles in advance. And according to what we learned in the past, you also leave some coins to put into the kuppah. And then the wife puts the money into the tzedakah bags and lights the candles, and each one follows the tradition. Some people say beracha before and the light after. That's according to the ruling of Rabbi Yosef. According to the Ben Ish Chai, you light the candles first, you give the tzedakah first, candles, and then the beracha. Either tradition you follow, you have upon whom to rely. And at that moment of candle lighting, we know well that is a mega moment to pray. It's a moment to pray, especially for the wife. That's why usually ladies have this Yehirat Tzomi Lefanecha next to the candles, that she prays for the husband, she prays for the children, etc. Now I want you to listen to the following pasuk. Obviously the introduction of the Ben Ish Chai is very long, but I'll try to give you the highlights to at least understand what are we achieving when we do things. So far, we are already in agreement. Candles, wine, and bread. Now let's understand the reason why. Although the Gemara gave the reason for Shalom Bayit, which is definitely a great reason, let's see what else is there for us today. Batere Haisha, and the wife saw, Kitov ha'etz lema'achal, that the tree is good for consumption. So now we're talking about eating. Number one. Then we also said, she saw with her eyes. Bechita Hava hula einayim is very appealing or attractive to the eye. Benehmad ha'etz lehaskil, and is enjoyable, the tree, for wisdom. Batikach mipirio batochal, and she took from the fruit and she ate. This is found Perashah Bereshit, the 3rd chapter. Did you pay attention how many words we use? And she saw that is good for consumption, is desirable to the eyes, and is enjoyable or pleasant to the wisdom. She took and she ate. Why you have to give me so much description? When you go to when you tell me you bought a store, you bought the O'Neill shirt, right? Do you tell me, Rabbi, I took my car and I park in the parking lot, and I get out of my car and I lock the door and I walk to the store, I went through the many racks, and finally I saw a shirt that caught my eye. I went to the register, by the way, I paid, and I left the store back into my car. Do we talk like that? No. What do we say? I went to the store, I bought it, was on special, I like it. That's it. You can say the same thing in less than a minute. But look how many words and how many verbs and how many actions the pasuk mentioned in the whole transaction of eating a fruit, which we're not even sure if it was a fruit. Because the word peri doesn't necessarily mean a fruit. We call it a fruit, but a peri could be even wheat, because it's peri ha'adama, is the offspring of the earth. So peri is not necessarily a fruit. So let's see what was the sin of Adam and Hava. Gemara Berachot says, "Ait she'adam Adam harishon chita haya." Comes the Gemara and it says, you know what the Adam and Hava ate that day? Wheat. Wheat. Hold on. Wheat. What's so special about wheat? How do you call in Hebrew wheat? Hita. Why is it called hita? Lashon het. Lashon het. Het in Hebrew, you know what that means? Sin. Transgression. Hita means a sin against God. That's why it's called Hita. And by the way, that is the reason why we make hamotzi on Friday night. Atoning for the sin of Adam and Hava. We are making a tikkun. 5,782 years later, we're still making a down payment on the mortgage. That's number one. Comes the Gemara and it says, La. Gefen haya. It was grape juice or wine. Hold on a minute. Now you're talking about wine. I make Kiddush on wine. So the bread wine protocol is not an invention. It has reasonings behind it. We are doing a Kiddush and we are fixing things. Be'ol Amru, third opinion, the Gemara says, Te'ena haya, figs. But the Torah does not mention the identity of what they ate. Why not? Because if the Torah would have said what they ate, no one ever will have ever eaten and say a beracha on that item. Yes. And where do we get the te'ena from? Baya'as lahem kutnot or bayalbishem. God made them garments to their skin. Adam and Hava, till the sin, till the moment that they realized that they were naked, they were naked. Literally. But not the nakedness that you and I think. A different level of nakedness. The skin of Adam and Hava in the beginning of the creation, I'm sure you know this, but I'm going to say it again. It was the texture of the nails. Tzipore. That's how it was. After the Avon, all that disappears and only remain on the extremities of the fingers. And that's why on Mosai Shabbat, you shine your nails towards the fire. Because the fire came into existence on Mosai Shabbat. The fire existed, but never had any purpose until Mosai Shabbat, after Adam and Hava were evicted from Gan Eden. They come to a world full of darkness. What God says to Adam, don't fear, I'll be with you. But it's dark. He says, don't worry, take 2 stones, rub them, and create the fire. And that's why on Mosai Shabbat, which was the first time in history that fire became activated, we say, Bore Meore Ha'esh, the creator of the luminaries of fire. And that's the reason why the Lacha says, for Havdalah you need, how many fires do you need? 2. And that's why the Shabbat candle does not qualify for a Havdalah candle. You need to have 2 flicks, or 2 wicks, or 2 matches. Why? Because this was the fire of Adam Arishon. And that's why every time we shine our nails to the fire of Havdalah, is a reminder of the Avon of Adam and Hava. This is the only remnant of the skin of Adam and Hava. And that's why the Gemara says clearly that a pregnant lady should not step on nails. It's forbidden. Mehila, erase that word. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Why? Because pregnancy, as we learned yesterday, when pregnancy became activated, not when Adam and Hava were created. We already learned yesterday that Cain and Hevel were born on the same day. When was pregnancy activated? After the Avon of Adam and Hava. And that's the reason why this is the way we do on Mosai Shabbat. We bend the finger, people do like this. It's not a scary movie. Chas v'shalom. Bend your 2 fingers and do this. And there is a secret in this motion. Like this. If you're watching, like this. 2, 12. This in Hebrew is called yad. Why is it called yad? What's the meaning yad in Hebrew? You say hand, but why is it called yad yad? because of the 14 parts. 3, 6, 9, 12, 14. I'm taking 2. I'm bending it inside of my hands. Ishmael, Esav. The 12 Shevatim. That's why you do this. That's why you do this on Mosai Shabbat. The enemies of the Jewish people. So with this motion, I'm subjugating them. I'm bending them to be under the domain of Am Israel for the well-being of Am Israel. Because these two enemies seek our destruction. So look at that. You just do this, you finish the war without shooting a bullet. America doesn't want to give money to Israel for weaponry. We don't need it. We don't need it. It's a pasuk. Lo b'chayil v'lo b'koach ki im beruchi amar Hashem Sebakot. Let's continue, Rabotai. So it says, the Ben Ish Chai, which opinion do we follow? Te'ena, Gefen, Hita, which one? So the Ben Ish Chai says clearly the way, the language of the Gemara. Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Hayim. All opinions are right. So what does it mean? So it says, Hesada'at hayalo ta'am hita, ta'am te'ena, ta'am gefen. The Eitz Da'at was a food that had multi-flavors. Where do we see a similar pattern? Remember the man? How was the man? The man that came down 40 years, with the exception of Shabbat and Yom Tov. How was the man? It says, שהיה מתהפך לכל הטעמים שבעולם. Look in פרשה בהעלותיך, third parasha of Sefer Bamidbar, all the imaginable flavors the man had, with the exception of 5 vegetables. 5 and fruits. You know why these 5 flavors were not found? Because they were detrimental to the mother nursing a baby. The parasha says it openly. Rashi explains it. But the rest of the flavors, what food today in our culinary expertise is to a certain extent multi-flavor? What food you can make anything you want, you can make?
Bread. Wheat.
No. There is a certain food. You ready for this? Tofu. Tofu, שמעת על זה? It's out of soy. You ready for this? Are you sitting down? Comes the parasha of the man and it says, Et asher tofu. Habibi.
Okay.
Parasha. The information is there. You need to know where to find it. Okay, I'm the good researcher. Can you imagine? No, tofu is made out of soy.
Oh, sorry.
You can make cheese out of tofu, burgers out of tofu, dessert, tofuri ice cream. That's a great commercial, by the way. Tofuri ice cream, right? You see the kids are jumping. No, I don't have ice cream today. Maybe we have in the freezer. Maybe there is in the freezer tofuri ice cream. Okay, what is tofu? Of course, but from all of the words in the Hebrew vocabulary, they have to use the word tofu. Obviously, tofuri took it from the man, by the way. You need to know this. Tofu, it was taken from the miracle of the man, that you can do with it anything you want. By the way, I knew the owner of the tofuri ice cream, who made tofuri cheese, parm, tofuri ricotta, tofuri spread, tofuri slices, tofuri cuties, tofuri tops. Mr. Mintz, alav shalom, a very charitable individual. So let's continue with the Ben Ish Chai. Comes the Ben Ish Chai, and it says, we spoke about the foods. Then the Ben Ish Chai says, that when Shabbat Kodesh comes, is similar to the day that Adam and Hava sinned. So what do? We do 3 tikkunim. Tikkun, spiritual repair of the candles, wine and bread. And the Ben Ish Chai says, let's play a matching game. How do I know these 3 things from the lengthy pasuk that I mentioned before? It says, when it comes to the bread, the pasuk writes, Batere haisha ki tova etz lema'achal. The wife saw that this food is enjoyable. And who doesn't enjoy bread? Imagine yourself eating falafel without bread, deli without bread, hamburger without bread. Of course, let's be honest here. There are people today that for health reasons don't eat bread. I personally don't eat bread with the exception of Shabbat. But usually the bread is something that supplements to the meal. Ner, the candle, ta'ava hula einayim, is desirable to the eye. When I light a candle, what part of the body benefits? Only. Nothing else. The besamim smell. The besamim we said before. The nose. The fire. The eyes. So it says, and that's why the Ben Ish Chai says, when you come home Friday night from the synagogue, before you start the Kiddush, look at the candles. Look at the 2 candles, because you're helping your wife with the tikkun. The question is, how do I help my wife with the tikkun? So the Ben Ish Chai explains how many candles we light in honor of Shabbat. Minimum 2. Minimum 2. Zachor beshamon. Some families light more. It's fine. Doesn't matter. But minimum candles 2.
Isn't the custom in 3?
Some have the custom of lighting 3, but for sure you leave 2.
No, that's a 2, I know, but 3
3,
is over.
ma bi'arif. I don't have that answer. There are people who light a candle for each child.
Yeah, that's
It's not mandatory, but minimum 2 candles. Zachor beshamon. Remember the Shabbat and observe the Shabbat. Now, the Ben Ish Chai says further. How do you write in Hebrew candle? Ner, Nun, Resh. 50 and 200, 250. That's the numerical value of the word Ner. But I have 2 candles, so how much is that?
500.
500. How many body parts a husband has? Listen to the numbers. Ramah, Evarim, 248 body parts. How many body parts a lady has? 252. When you make the Mishaberach for the Holim, what do you say? Ramah, Evarav, Ranav, Evareha. Ramah, 248, plus 252 is how much? 500. So when the wife lights the 2 candles of Shabbat, she's not only lighting for her, she's also lighting for her husband. Let's continue, Rabotai. So it says the Ben Ish Chai, like the sin of Adam and Hava, and irrelevant which opinion do we follow, what did they eat actually, but we all agree that their transgression was eating. Correct? So the tikkun needs to be done through food. If the sin is done through food, the tikkun needs to be done through food. Like we mentioned, if a person wasn't careful in saying berachot or saying asher yatzar, for example, how do you fix the avon? Start doing it. So he says the Ben Ish Chai, like the avon was done through eating, the tikkun needs to be done through eating. And therefore it says the Ben Ish Chai that on Shabbat Kodesh there is a concept of eating lichbot Shabbat Kodesh. What does that mean? that even when a person makes the Seudah in honor of Shabbat, it's not a regular Friday meal. It's a meal that carries the Kedusha of the Shabbat. And therefore, it says the Ben Ish Hai, the concept of the lechem, the food, the bread, and the wine, and the nerot that we do in honor of Shabbat, each one of them, to a certain extent, it makes a tikkun for Adam and Hava. So you may say, but I don't understand how it works. Guess what? I don't understand neither. So don't feel bad. But I'll tell you one thing, and I think that with this we will have to finish, because I really need to move on to, as I said before, and I'm going into overtime. But today, in your honor, Berit Milah, Eliyahu Navi came, Aharon HaKohen is to my left. You know, that's a big zachut. Your name is not Pashut. Hashem Shalcha ze lo Pashut. Thank you. So comes the Ben Ish Hai, and it says, and I'm reading this from Perashah Ki Teseh, and it says, Hashem silecha al yad yaminecha. God is like your shadow. Like the shadow never departs from the person, Hashem's presence is constantly with the person. And this is the powerful statement, and it says, de ma she'ha'adam oseh lemata na'asa davar kenegdo lema'ala. It says the Ben Ish Hai, whatever actions are being done here, it creates a mirror image in Shamayim as well. Hem letova, hen lehefech. If it's a good action, beautiful. If God forbid it's not good, the opposite is the truth as well. So, I think that hopefully this fascinating explanation, and I gave you only the short version, the very short version. The full version will take more than an hour, and it's very deep, but I gave you the summary to a certain extent that we're going to be able to absorb it and have this in mind. So we do tonight Kiddush, set up the candles for your wife if you've not done it, put some coins for the kuppah, make the Kiddush, make the Hamosi, and enjoy the Shabbat the way our holy rabbis tell us, that how the person observes and celebrates and honors Shabbat Bereshit, that gives us the foundation for the entire year. Even though this is not the first Shabbat of the year, but this is the first Shabbat of the year because we have no more holidays in front of us. And we're starting from the beginning of the Sefer Torah, Bereshit, bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Mazel tov to